Hey everybody, Brian from Bear Bull Traders here. It is the weekend, April 27th. Hope everyone's having a good weekend. This, of course, the weekend video will take a look ahead at what's coming down the pipe in the coming week after doing a quick little review of last week's price action. More earnings coming up on deck here next week, so let's get down to it. All right, so let's start out with a quick review of last week, as we always do. The Fed's favored inflation indicator, that PCE price index, came out on Friday. Everybody was expecting that number. And of course, most of the numbers came in pretty much in line with what the expectations were. Maybe one or two of the numbers were a little bit higher than expected, but overall, pretty much as expected. It showed inflation still remains sticky above that 2% target level that the Fed seems to want to use as a gauge, but the markets did seem to take it all in stride, and indexes were strong during the day. That was helped by Google earnings that came out Thursday night. Really blew things out of the water, and Google just ripped after the market when those numbers came out there. So basically the indexes all rebounded this week after a number of weeks of selling there, and you can see the Qs really up a lot on the technology news, good news, and SPY up, IWM even up. And so of course, not surprisingly, technology, consumer discretionary, biggest sector gainers on the week. Materials and healthcare were sectors that gained the least. Every sector was in the green. 2-year and 10-year treasuries pretty much flat on the week. And of course, with flat movements on the treasuries, the dollar was also flat as well. Didn't really make a move one way or the other. Bitcoin seems to be selling off a little bit on the weekend. It's down to 62,800 area. Was 64,600 last week. So as you know, this is a 24/7 market, so this could change at any time, and we could be up 2,000 or down 2,000 by Monday morning. So that's it for the way things happened on the market last week. A bit of a bounce back. Okay, so before we go on here, I always like to do a quick plug for my books that are available on Amazon. You can see them there, Profiting as an Active Trader, How to Swing Trade, my oldest book, and my latest book, How to Trade Options. And you'll notice I do talk a lot about options trades in the room here, or a video as well. So if you want to check those books out, they are available for sale. So let's get down and look at some charts here. Okay, guys, this is a quick review of the levels on some of the indexes here. And as always, we start out with the treasuries. You can see here, this is kind of where we've been topping out on the 2-year at 5%. That's where we are right now. So a significant break above this level would be a significant event. But right now we seem to be just stuck at this sort of 5% level. So just keeping an eye on that if it does start to move higher. And the 10-year, again, we're kind of testing this level for this prior level back in October. Again, kind of a doji candle there, which maybe looks like we came up and tested it and rejected it. So hopefully for the bulls, hopefully we continue to stay below some of those levels there. Transports, of course, always an indicator of the economic activity in the market, and you can see here we've maybe put in a bit of a double bottom here this week. Again, the sort of trend line was broken, retested, and moved back up. So possibly a bit of a trend reversal on the transports. Again, seem to hold this level here. On the Dow, I think the story is going to be the same on a lot of these indexes here. You've got a trend line that's heading down. We broke the trend line, came up, came back, retested it, and now we've bounced back up again. And it sort of seems like we may be heading maybe back up, or at least back into this area where we spent a lot of time before, a lot of price buying and selling in this area. So it could be sort of a movement back up to that area. This is quite often these areas of congestion, if you want to call them that, act as a magnet, and they'll pull the price back up to that area where there was a lot of buying and selling. And what we do from there, we'll see. But regardless, it looks like we've sort of put in a bit of a bottom here on the Dow, and maybe get some continuation move next week. Same with the Qs. I don't want to keep repeating myself. You can see this area of congestion where there's been a lot of buying and selling. You can see that in the volume price bar there. And again, we could be heading back up into that area on the Qs. Inside bar on the Qs on a weekly, and again this area here kind of pulling it back up into that area. The SPY, again, I'm just going to keep repeating myself here, so I won't. Same sort of pattern on the SPY, and an inside bar on the weekly. We never did yet get bound to this level, but it looks like we may sort of try to keep in this area or rally back a bit. Again, IWM, sort of same story. We did sort of break this trend line, downward trend line, came back, retested it, and then popped back up. RSI moving back up again, so a MACD crossing, and stochastics sort of moving back up as well. So all the indexes look like they've maybe put in a bit of a temporary bottom here. As far as the VIX goes, you can see here the fear index. Wow, it just fell out of bed this week after some of these earnings have come out. Relatively, some of them relatively positive. Yeah. Anyway, with the lack of movement in the treasuries, the dollar really hasn't moved very much, so no direction one way or another on the dollar for the week. And as far as Bitcoin goes, Bitcoin it's really starting to fall here. 62,900 now. As you know, it's 24/7 market. 62,000 area, this 62,700 area seems to be an area where it keeps finding support. So just watch to make sure that doesn't break, because if it does, could be some significant downside from there. So that's it, everybody. That was the week in review. All right, so let's take a look at some of the positions I've got on right now. This is an options trade I like to do. I've covered it in my book on how to trade options. I still have these 260 calls that I'm short. Tried to sell them last week by putting in an offer at about 8 cents, and nobody took it. So still, I'll try again next week. But again, it's pretty much worthless, and I'm keeping all the premium on that. As far as I did another trade this week, this was one of my trades that I like to do after earnings. I don't like to trade into earnings usually, but I do like to trade after earnings. So this was the reaction to Boeing had after earnings, gapped up, really sold off, put in a nice little bottom here around 160, and so I'm short the 160 puts right now, and myself and Jared talked about that trade in the room, and we both put that trade on. So short the puts at 160. That's a new options trade on Boeing. GDX, I'm still long some gold miners. It looks like we're kind of breaking out here. This was an area that looked like that resistance. It was a closing price. Sometimes I don't really count this, because the closing price was actually below this level of resistance. So this came right back up to this area where we closed at the high, and now we closed above it. So I'm looking for more of a move on gold, on my gold miners next week. Liked Nvidia from Thursday. Put in a lower high here, came back, tried to retest this bottom, actually put in a higher low, I should say, and really ripped on Friday. So long some Nvidia shares as well. Could have done that with options, but could have done a risk reversal on options, as in selling some maybe 750 puts and then buying some 800 calls or something like that, but I just chose to go long the shares, and that's some of my positions right now. All right, so a couple of opportunities I think next week here. Apple, I'm watching this. Looks like it's kind of put in a bottom here, maybe topping out as we get back into some area of consolidation. But we've got an event coming up May 7th. That's going to be their Apple event, where they're going to probably announce some new iPads. Usually Apple runs into those events, but be careful, because quite often they get sold off as buy the rumor, sell the news. But Apple looking a little toppy here on Friday, and could be range bound. So maybe an opportunity to sell some upside calls if the premium's good, or sell some downside puts because it looks like this sort of 165 area is an area where it's going to hold. Amazon really had a nice comeback. This is their earnings, I believe, and no, it wasn't their earnings. It was some other news, but it came right back up here. So Amazon next week has earnings, I believe, Thursday. So just be careful before trading this, but I'll be watching it after it trades and to see if there's some opportunity there. AXP, really nice move up after earnings. You can see here we kind of topped out around 240, sort of 240-ish. So a bit of a pullback here. You can see volume pretty light on this pullback, so it might continue to move higher. But again, this 230 level may come back and test that. That could be a good area to sell some puts and maybe even buy some 240 calls, do a bit of a reversal. Still watching Ethereum. It does look like it might be putting in a bit of a higher low here at this 15 level. So could be an opportunity to start getting in there as we get closer to this these ETFs that might be introduced on Ethereum. Google, I'm going to watch Google to see if this is kind of a top, but certainly monster move on Friday on volume after that earnings report on Thursday. Meta, again, you can see here huge area of sort of consolidation, congestion, lots of buying and selling in this area. Could be a reason for Meta to move back up here. So definitely this 420 level has been sort of established as the low. Maybe even this low on Friday, which was more like 430, could be an area to watch. But I suspect Meta will start to move back up here because it's still a cash generating machine. Netflix, I did a trade last week on Netflix, mentioned it in the previous week's video. We're looking at this 540 level, and that's where I sold some puts, kept them on Friday, kept the premium, and I may look to do that again next week as Netflix seems to want to hold this 540 level. And that's about it for opportunities for next week that I'm looking at right now. All right, wrapping things up here, April 29th. What have we got coming up? Here's your levels that we went out on Friday with various support and resistance levels for the various indexes. As far as economic events go, I think the big one will be 8:15 on Wednesday. We've got the ADP employment report. That's again showing signs of how the labor sector is doing. And at 2 p.m., of course, we've got the Fed rate hike decision. There isn't probably going to be any rate hike or decrease. I think that's pretty much the expectation. But Powell will be speaking at 2:30 in a conference, and that could be a market mover as well. So two things to watch out for on Wednesday. And then Friday follows up with unemployment data and wage growth. So we will see what happens on Friday as well. That will be some numbers that people will be watching for sure. As far as earnings go, we do have some earnings coming up here. We've got some semiconductors, Amazon and Starbucks. We've got Apple and Amgen here on Thursday. So some interesting earnings coming up next week as well. So that's about it, everybody. Like, subscribe to the channel if you've enjoyed the content, and we'll see you hopefully Monday morning at 8 o'clock. We'll start our pre-market show. And of course, trading the market open with our members at 9:30. And we are also doing some live broadcasts on YouTube in terms of the market open. So you can stick with us. Just remember that there is always a lag on the feed when you're watching from YouTube. So take care, everyone. Have a great rest of the weekend, and we'll hopefully see you Monday morning. Bye for now.